Donald Trump is announcing a 25% tariff on any steel coming into the United States. It's big news, and the response has been fairly decent. Wall Street is loving it. Stocks are going up, and steel manufacturers in the U.S. are seeing their stocks increase as well. It's funny because Democrats were telling me that tariffs were bad and it was a tax on the American people and it was going to hurt business and ruin everything. And then, of course, Donald Trump announces tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. And he says, until we secure our border and get the fentanyl crisis dealt with, we're going to be putting a 25% tariff. Surprise, surprise. Both countries say we will redouble our efforts on dealing with the border crisis, illegal immigration, and fentanyl. Thus, Trump wins. But the Democrats came out, and they came out too soon, as they do. And they said, what happened, MAGA? I thought you guys were on board with the tariffs, and you thought it was going to be good for this country, but then Donald Trump caved and dropped them. You know, you can try to explain to these people all day and night. Trump, first, I don't think is necessarily playing 5D chess. I mean, even 3D chess. It's funny because everyone says fourth dimensional chess. But in all actuality, the pieces are in 3 dimensions and time is a factor. So we're already getting past 4. Now you're on 5D chess. What is that? Looking to the future in other dimensions? Anyway, I digress. The game is simple. Trump outright said, border crisis, tariffs. When Canada and Mexico came out and said, okay, border crisis, we'll deal with it. The tariffs, he backed off for 1 month. Now we have the steel tariffs. Democrats, where are you? I thought you were saying that Trump backed off the tariffs. Here's what it means. If another country is making steel and they want to sell it in the U.S., it's going to cost them a 25% fee on top, basically. Now, for sure, some of these companies may try to pass that on to the American consumer, but that's a lie. Democrats are lying. I run a business. We sell products. Let me explain to you how this works. Let's say one Cast Brew coffee. Head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. Let's say one Cast Brew coffee costs you $15, $16, right? And let's say we're selling it to China. And China puts a tariff on and says, Tim, if you want to sell your coffee in our country, it's going to cost 25% more to enter this country. Does that mean that I am going to mark up my product by 25%? No. You want to know why? The purpose, the tariff works, okay? If in China there is Cast Brew China brand and they sell for $16, how am I going to compete if I'm overcharging? Simply put, if these steel manufacturers outside the U.S. send steel into the U.S. and they mark up their price by 25%, the tariff served its purpose. They raise the price and the Democrats go, you're going to pay for it. No, I'm not. I'm going to buy American because America doesn't have a tariff and it's going to be cheaper. These companies want to mark up their prices. They're not going to be competitive. And that's called market economics. Wall Street, of course, like I mentioned, they're loving it. Wall Street advances as tech stocks rebound. Trump's tariffs lift steel makers. Look, Trump's a businessman. He's treating all this stuff like a real estate deal. This is easy stuff, guys. Let the steel manufacturers increase their prices. Maybe they'll split the baby. That's a saying, by the way. A lot of people didn't believe me. Maybe they'll say, okay, let's do 12.5% increase on the cost of steel, and then we'll cut our margins by 12.5. Assuming they have margins that high, which they probably don't, they eat some of the cost, they still won't be competitive. Trump is basically saying, we're effectively shutting you down. And the reason why you don't just ban it, for one, you can't. The tariff works because you can still get access to it if you need to, but this is going to create a market incentive for American steel manufacturers to get back into business so they can offer a quality product at a lower price and compete with the slave labor in China. To be honest, their margins actually may be pretty good because they don't pay their employees. Trump made the comments to reporters as he was en route to the Super Bowl on Air Force One, where he said, any steel coming to the U.S. is going to have a 25% tariff. When he was also asked about aluminum, he said, aluminum too. I love that. They're like, what about other metals, Trump? And he's like, yeah, why not? He added that he'd be taking steps to implement reciprocal tariffs on countries that are punishing the U.S. with their trade tax, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. If they are charging us 130% and we're charging them nothing, it's not going to stay that way. The comments from Trump are similar to others where he has threatened to impose tariffs on imports, which would raise the cost for countries looking to sell their goods in the U.S. In the case of Canada and Mexico, he used the threat of tariffs to gain concessions on neighboring countries. And these liberals come out and they're like, but Donald Trump failed because Mexico already had troops on the border. Mexico had 15,000 National Guard at their border. Now they have 25,000. What do you mean Trump failed? That's nearly doubling their enforcement effort. That's pretty based, if you ask me. They said after gaining concessions from Canada and Mexico last week on securing the borders, he agreed to pause the tariffs. And that's a pause for 1 month. I'd like to see it because I'm done watching this country get extracted. Now take a look at this. They tried claiming the markets would be in turmoil. In fact, with the tariffs, the markets have improved. Wall Street's main indexes rose on Monday, with most heavyweight tech stocks rebounding after a steep fall, while steelmakers surged in the U.S. after Trump said he would impose additional tariffs. Trump's latest trade escalation came on Sunday when he said he would introduce tariffs on all steel and aluminum imported into the U.S. Let's go. Tech stocks NVIDIA rose, Microsoft and Alphabet climbed about 1%. There's still this underlying theme that people want to be invested in tech stocks and AI. Those stocks continue to get bought on dips. They continue to outperform overall. Heavyweight technology stocks fell sharply on Friday after Trump announced reciprocal tariffs on all countries, matching the tariffs levied by them. 2 weeks ago, stocks were hit by the surging popularity of Chinese startup DeepSeek's cheaper AI model, which I personally think is a lie, to be honest. The argument for DeepSeek is that basically what they're doing is the way, so let's go with Grok or GPT. The argument is they have training data sets. So for Grok, probably using X, which is nuts. It's probably the best training data set you can get. But this means a lot of garbage goes into the system, and they need massive processing power to weed out garbage and try and be as accurate as possible. The argument for DeepSeek is that its training model was built upon the existing AI already. I think that's probably the case. They have DeepSeek basically learn from all the other large language models, simplifying the process. People are impressed by it. 8 of the 11 S&P 500 sectors traded higher, with energy stocks up 1.7, tracking elevated oil prices. And then they have this very large and weird image, for instance, of Wall Street. U.S. Steel also got a boost after Japan's chief cabinet secretary said Nippon Steel was considering proposing a bold change in its plan to buy the company. Some earnings-driven motives also aided Monday's gains. McDonald's jumped, Rockwell Automation, blah, 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 lots of things jumped. Later this week, U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is due to testify before Congress, while a January Consumer Price Index reading is expected to be released in the early hours of Wednesday. Let's do this. There was a question asked of Donald Trump. The media is dragging him for it. When are prices going to go down? Eggs is still very expensive. And, it's rough. It really is. Trump talked big game. He hasn't delivered. He's over-delivered and blown my expectations out of the water. But let's be real. In terms of prices, we're not there yet. In terms of the war in Ukraine, we're not there yet. Trump said, as soon as I'm elected, before I'm even in, one day, that war is over. I thought that would be the case at first. But as we got closer to the election, it looked like Democrats had been doing things to make it impossible for Trump to negotiate an end to that war, at least easily. Now what we're seeing with the cost of goods, Trump said, it's really hard to get those prices down, but there is a simple way of doing it, and it's not going to be as easy as Trump thought it would. And it's getting the fuel prices down. Increase the supply in fuel, drill, baby, drill, increase the trade, diesel comes down, prices come down. You want to know why prices come down? The Democrats and the liberals are saying things like, no one who makes a product for $1, if the prices come down, they're going to absorb those margins. They're going to celebrate more profits. They're not going to lower the price. Wrong. This is the way the market works. This is the point of tariffs. If I make eggs and you make eggs, and the cost of eggs goes down from $1 to 50 cents, we both don't just sit there and go, woo, we're rich now. I go, I want to sell 95 cents for my eggs. And he goes, 90 cents for my eggs. And I go, 80 cents for my eggs. The competition will lower the prices until the margins rest at a comfortable area. If businesses come together and start price fixing, saying, I won't charge this if you don't charge that, that's illegal. So let me tell you, I'm excited. This is going to, I hope, reinvigorate a lot of the Rust Belt or maybe be used as a negotiating tool on these other countries. He already mentioned Japan's going to make $1 trillion investment in the United States. Let's go. They wanted to buy. He said, no. They said, okay, we'll invest. That's right. It'll be America. It'll be American. And we will buy American products. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. Become a member at timcast.com. Buy Cast Brew Coffee. And we will see you all tonight at youtube.com/TimcastIRL.